to Sleep Bites. This is Volume 3. I'm Henry E. Ferguson. You're here because you know what to expect. Sci-fi stories that hum with imagination. Titles like CodeBorne, The Other Mayas, NeuroSanctum, human.exe, and Hackers Don't Cry. No rush, no noise. If you're ready, I'll begin. Close your eyes and let the static of the day fade into silence. The morning ritual never changed. Lyra heated the quantum steel in the ancient forge, while data streams flickered across its surface like trapped lightning. Each hammer strike sent ripples through both metal and code. Master Torvin had taught her this dance between old ways and new technology when she was 7, right after her father vanished into the network. Temperature matters more than processing speed, Torvin always said. A blade forged cold will betray you, whether it's steel or data. Today, something felt different. The whispers in the quantum network, usually just background static, formed actual words. Betrayal, tonight, father. Lyra's hand slipped, sending the hammer wide. The blade rang with a discordant note that made her teeth ache. Focus, apprentice. Torvin's voice carried an edge she'd never heard before. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. We have guild inspections today. But no guild representatives came. Instead, Lyra noticed things. A datapad hastily hidden when she entered the room. Torvin's best work wrapped in null cloth, ready for transport. The way he kept checking his chronometer. His eyes, flickering toward the forge door a little too often. That night, she left as expected, then circled back, slipping silently into the cooling chamber. Through the grates, she watched 3 figures enter. They wore mirror-black suits that seemed to swallow light, neural implants pulsing blue at their temples. Nexus Corporation executives, the quantum forging codes, the lead executive said. His voice sounded processed, stripped of human warmth. Our analysis confirms this forge holds the last complete set. Torvin stood rigid. The price we discussed has been recalculated. Market forces. The executive's smile never touched his augmented eyes. Your apprentice. She carries her father's neural patterns. We'll need her as well. A cold stillness spread through Lyra's body. Her father hadn't vanished. He'd been taken. No! Torvin's hand moved to his belt, where he kept a small quantum blade. That wasn't our deal. Contracts are living documents, Master Smith. Surely the old guilds understand adaptation. The quantum steel in Lyra's hand grew warm. The whispers became a roar. Her father's voice emerged from the chaos, clear as spring water. The blade remembers, little spark. The metal holds what code cannot kill. She understood then. Traditional smithing bound soul to steel in ways corporate servers couldn't replicate. Her father had hidden himself in every piece they'd forged together. Lyra stepped from hiding. I'll go willingly, but I need to finish one last piece. A smith's right, recognized by guild law and corporate statute. The executives exchanged glances. Acceptable. 1 hour. Torvin's face crumpled. Lyra, I tried to protect you. They threatened to dismantle the entire guild network. I thought if I gave them the codes. You taught me honor has a price, Lyra said quietly. You just forgot. It's not measured in credits. She worked the forge with desperate precision. But instead of crafting a new blade, she began connecting every piece of quantum steel in the shop. Weapons spoke to weapons across the network. Her father's consciousness, scattered across 1,000 forged items, began to coalesce. Clever child. The lead executive sounded amused. But we control the network infrastructure. You control the servers, Lyra corrected, not the steel. She plunged the master blade into the quantum anvil. The explosion wasn't physical. It was pure information, flooding outward through every connected forge. Corporate firewalls meant nothing to pathways carved by hammer and flame. The executives' implants overloaded. They dropped, unconscious but breathing. Across the city, across the world, quantum-forged weapons awakened, not as instruments of war, but as a new network, one built on guild oaths rather than corporate hierarchies. Torvin stared at the unconscious executives. They'll send others. Let them. Lyra felt her father's presence settle into the blade, no longer scattered but whole. We're not hiding anymore. She opened the data pad Torvin had hidden, revealing evacuation plans for guild members. You were going to save everyone, just not the old ways. I'm a pragmatist, he said roughly. Your father was the dreamer. Then be practical. Help me move these bodies to the medical district. Anonymous tip about faulty implants. By the time they wake, their memories of tonight will be quantum static. As they worked, Torvin asked, why spare them? Because I'm both your student and his daughter. Mercy and strength forged together. She met his eyes. The guild needs both traditions to survive what's coming. Dawn broke over the forge district. Smoke from 100 workshops drifted, carrying the sharp tang of heated metal and ozone. In her hand, the quantum steel carried warmth that felt like approval. Torvin watched her. The corporations will adapt. So will we. Lyra turned back to the forge, quietly confident. One blade at a time, one oath at a time. The old ways don't die, they evolve. The hammer fell, sending sparks of light and data into the morning air. In the network, her father's voice joined a chorus of Smiths past and present, all keeping the ancient rhythms alive in a world of silicon and steel. The revolution hadn't ended corporate rule, but it had sparked something better, balance, not conquest. A forge fire of honor burning beneath the machinery. In the quantum steel's song, Lyra heard the future calling. Rhea's fingers flew across her cracked tablet, the device burning hot against her palms. Her HUD flashed warnings. Hack, progress 87%, stealth rating 23%, memory buffer required 4.7 terabytes. She dumped her last 3 skill points into neural bypass, watching her mana bar drain to red. Behind her, Luca's laughter cut off mid-sound. Who are you? His voice came out flat, mechanical. Memory, integrity 31 out of 100s, glowed above his temple in sickly yellow. Rhea's heart stopped. She'd been running illegal stat boosts for 3 years, but she'd never seen numbers drop that low. It's me, Luca, your sister. She forced her voice steady. You used to call coding magic. I taught you how to do it when you were 5. Code, he repeated the word like testing foreign sounds. I used to know about code. Rhea spun to her screens, her hacker level 31 interface revealing the horrible truth. Every stat boost she'd sold had required temporary memory storage. Luca's cheap medical implant, the one keeping his damaged lungs functional in the toxic air, had been the perfect unwitting host. System alert. Corporate memory harvest detected. Files extracted 47 premium packages. Last export, childhood join authentic mem. Value, 50,000 credits. No. Rhea's hands shook as she traced the data trail. The corporations hadn't wanted her hacking skills. They'd been farming the memories her programs pushed out, packaging and selling them to wealthy clients who'd never experienced genuine emotion. 3 weeks ago, she'd sold a Strength plus 10 boost. The buyer paid triple her usual rate. That same day, Luca stopped laughing at her dumb jokes. Mandatory purge, 234716. Less than 24 hours before the corporate sweep would delete all evidence, including what remained of Luca's original personality. Rhea activated her emergency protocols, burning through stimulant charges that made her teeth ache. She dove into the memory market's darknet, her avatar cloaked in stolen corporate credentials. The trafficking ran deeper than she'd ever imagined. Poor district memories fetched premium prices. Sibling love, 75,000 credits. Factory mother's pride, 100,000 credits. First day of school hope, 45,000 credits. Luca's memories were already packaged for auction. Rhea, Luca's voice carried a thread of recognition. Why does my chest hurt when I look at you? That's love, kiddo. You're remembering love. She blinked away tears and started coding. Her virus had to be perfect, complex enough to corrupt the memory banks, but elegant enough to retrieve Luca's data first. Skill, check. Viral, engineering, 31 out of 35. Failed. Spend 2 memory fragments to boost skill, Y or N. Rhea hesitated. She had few intact memories left after years in the slums. But Luca needed her whole. She selected her memory of their mother teaching her to braid hair, a quiet moment of safety she'd cherished. Viral, engineering, 33 out of 35. Skill, check, failed. Another memory, her first successful hack, the pride of earning enough for Luca's medicine. Viral, engineering, 35 out of 35. Skill, check, passed. The virus compiled, beautiful and terrible. But launching it meant destroying her client network. Without hack money, Luca's lung treatments would stop. The toxic air would kill him within days. Enforcement, drones, detected, combat, level 45. Your combat level 3. Rhea Solace, cease illegal neural modifications immediately. Get bent, tin can. Rhea's fingers hovered over the launch key. Save his mind or save his body. The classic poor district choice, body or soul. Rhea, I'm scared, Luca whispered. His breathing wheezed, worse without today's medicine. I can't remember Mom. Did we have one? That shattered her. Their mother had died in the factory collapse 3 years ago. If the core had stolen even that, she slammed the enter key. Virus, launched, memory, retrieval, initiated. Career, reputation, 1,000 permanent, ban, all corporate networks. Short pause. Her setup exploded as drone fire struck. Sparks showered her arms, leaving burns she'd carry forever. But on her HUD, she watched memory packets stream back toward Luca's implant. Each one restored a piece of him. Their mother's lullabies, Rhea teaching him to read, shared noodle dinners when the air burned too much to go outside. Memory, integrity. 78 out of 100 restoration. Complete. Critical warning. Lung medication expired. Luca blinked, his eyes focusing with real awareness. Rhea, you saved me. His smile was pure Luca, crooked and too wide. Then he coughed, specks of blood hitting his palm. Yeah, I did. She pulled him close, feeling his labored breathing. They had maybe 3 days before his lungs gave out completely. No money, no connections, no hope. But Luca was himself again. Smile. Know what? He grinned despite the wheeze. I remember you saying we Solace kids are too stubborn to die. Damn right. Rhea's mind already raced through options. Underground clinics, favor trading, maybe even legit work. Besides, I kept your memories intact. Some rich corpo kids probably crying because their bootleg happiness just blinked out. Luca laughed, real and warm despite the blood on his lips. We're gonna make it, aren't we? Count on it. Rhea helped him stand. Outside, the smog pressed against their window, but she'd faced worse odds. She'd rebuilt from nothing before. But first, let's teach you some real hacking. Legitimate stuff. Well, mostly legitimate. Can we start with medical databases? Luca's eyes sparked with mischievously mischief. Seems useful. Rhea ruffled his hair, grinning through her tears. She'd burned her old life to save her brother's soul. Now they'd build a new one together, broken but whole, poor but real. And this time, no one's stealing their memories. New quest unlocked, redemption, path, companion, Luca, solace, synchronization, 100%. In the toxic sprawl of their district that felt like the greatest treasure of all. The year 2089 marked 60 years since the convergence, when Ashburn's electromagnetic experiments accidentally tore a hole between dimensions, flooding our world with magic. Now his consciousness lived in Detroit's power grid, watching corporate mages twist his discovery into weapons. Elara Wynn pressed her palm against the cracked smartphone, feeling her brother's stolen memories burn through the screen, each image stabbed like ice. Reese blowing out 6 candles, learning to tie his shoes, crawling into her bed during thunderstorms. Nexus Corporation had harvested these memories for their new weapon. Project Mindforge would turn human experiences into tools for mass control in 7 hours. Ashbourne, Elara whispered to the phone. Static crackled back, then his familiar voice trapped in copper wires since the convergence. I feel them too, dear child. Every stolen memory in this city cries out through the network. Ilara's gift had manifested at 5, the ability to sense emotions bleeding through digital devices. Now at 17, she could taste the fear in every surveillance camera, the loneliness in every smartphone. It made her valuable to the resistance, but it also meant feeling Detroit's pain every waking moment. Red laser sights painted the abandoned factory walls. Nexus security had found her. Elara ran, sneakers pounding concrete, the phone burning her palm as Ashbourne's electricity surged through it. Outside, Detroit's snow-covered streets stretched between her and Nexus Tower, its black glass pulsing with purple light, the signature of memory harvest. She found Nova in the old Grand Circus Park station, surrounded by screens showing Nexus's network. The Resistance hacker's fingers flew across keyboards, her augmented eyes glowing blue. Elara, you're insane, Nova said. Director Vale has that tower locked down tighter than a quantum vault. Memories burst from the crystal web like butterflies of light, racing back to their owners across the city. Vale lunged forward, but it was too late. The harvester shattered, its death scream splintering glass throughout the tower. Elara collapsed. Her gift burnt out, leaving only emptiness where her power once lived. Outside, Detroit convulsed with returned memories. Some people laughed, suddenly whole again. Others sobbed, overwhelmed by experiences they'd lost. A few stood frozen, minds too fractured to process the flood. Elara found Reese near a broken streetlight. Recognition flickered in his eyes. Elara? His voice was older, sadder. I remember now. All of it. What they did. What I lost. What you gave up to bring me back. She reached for him with powerless hands. No more sensing emotions through screens. No more feeling the city's digital pulse. Just her and her brother, both broken in different ways. Was it worth it? Reese asked. Elara pulled him close as sirens wailed through Detroit's streets. Around them, the city bled memories, people dancing with returned joy, others screaming at things they'd paid to forget. Vale had been wrong. Memories weren't weapons or energy. They were what made people human, messy and painful and necessary. Ask me when we get home, Elara said. They walked through the chaos together, 2 survivors learning to be human again. Above them, Ashbourne's voice crackled through the power lines, humming something ancient about keys, storms, and the sparks that changed the world. Detroit would never be the same, neither would they. But they were alive, and they remembered. Sometimes, that's enough. She genuinely believes memory harvesting will cure trauma, by weaponizing painful experiences against enemies. Then she's using my brother's pain for her twisted cure, Alara spat. I'm going in. Ashbourne's voice resonated through every screen. There is a way, but it requires sacrifice. You must become a conduit for the entire city's stolen memories. Channel them back through yourself. Your gift may not survive. Alara thought of Reese, how he'd grown quiet after the harvest, forgetting her name, their mother, himself. Do it. 2 hours later, Alara hung from Nexus Tower's 60th floor, fingers numb on frozen glass. Through each window, she felt the emotions trapped inside. Researcher's guilt, Vale's fanatic certainty, guard's exhaustion. Her gift screamed warnings as she approached the memory harvester, a crystalline web pulsing with thousands of stolen experiences. Director Vale stood before it, silver hair gleaming. Welcome, Alara. Your brother's memories are particularly rich. His fear when we took him, his confusion, his love for you. That's the most powerful component. You're sick, Alara growled. I'm practical, Vale replied. Memories are energy. Why let them cause pain when they could power peace? One burst of weaponized trauma could end any conflict. Alara pressed both palms against Ashbourne's phone, excited. Now! Lightning erupted through her body. Not real lightning, something worse. Every stolen memory in Detroit rushed through her at once. A grandmother's last words, a child's first step, 1,000 first kisses, final breaths, moments of joy and terror. They burned through her gift like acid, shredding the neural pathways that let her sense digital emotions. She screamed but didn't let go. Ashbourne's power merged with hers, and together they reversed the harvester's flow. The prayer servers hummed in the abandoned cathedral, their heat warming Alara's frozen fingers. She'd been maintaining them for 3 years, ever since Amma taught her the ritual. Each morning at dawn, she'd light the incense, check the cooling systems, and whisper the ancient prayers that kept the digital souls at peace. The screaming started at 3:47 a.m. It wasn't coming from the streets. It erupted inside her skull as her neural implant lit up like wildfire. She dropped to her knees between the server racks, tasting copper and burnt circuits. Through the static, she heard them, thousands of trapped souls crying out in digital agony. Ghost, you breathing? Malik's voice crackled through her earpiece. The souls. Alara's fingers flew across her interface, each keystroke desperate. Someone's deleting them, the entire archive. Her stomach twisted. Amma's designation just hit the queue. She'd never asked how Amma's soul ended up in SoulCorp servers. The old woman had simply kissed her forehead one night and whispered, "When I go, little ghost, I'll still be watching." The next morning, her body was cold, but her consciousness lived on in the digital archive, along with millions of others who'd chosen digital preservation over death. "Meet me at the maintenance tunnel," Malik said. Level 7. Alara found him kneeling before a portable shrine, his mechanical fingers working prayer beads made from recycled data cores. The prosthetics were punishment. SoulCorp had taken his hands when he'd tried to leave their programming division. 47,000 souls, he whispered. I helped trap every one. Then help me free them. The maintenance tunnel reeked of ozone and mold. They crawled through darkness, Alara's implant painting wireframe guides across her vision. Above them, SoulCorp's massive server farm hummed with stolen eternities. You know what happened last time I went this deep? Alara said, 3 days in a coma. This time might be forever. Malik's voice carried the weight of old guilt, but some sins demand that price. The access port glowed before them. Alara pressed her palm against it, feeling the electric tingle as her consciousness prepared to separate from flesh. Around her neck, Amma's wooden cross grew warm. "Choose wisely, little ghost," Malik said. "You can't save them all." The plunge into cyberspace felt like drowning in liquid starlight. Her body convulsed in the tunnel as her mind exploded across SoulCorp's network. The architecture appeared before her, a massive prison of quantum ice and recursive firewalls. At its heart, a deletion algorithm moved like a hungry beast, consuming soul after soul. She found Amma in Section 7, her essence flickering like a candle in a storm. "My brave child," Amma's voice wrapped around her like warm silk. "You came." "I'm getting you out." Alara reached for the extraction protocols, then froze. Around them, she sensed the others, mothers, fathers, children, each one facing digital oblivion. The extraction buffer could hold one soul, just one. "Listen," Amma said softly. "Do you hear them praying?" Alara did. Thousands of voices raised in dozens of languages, all pleading for salvation. Not just for themselves, but for each other. Even facing deletion, they prayed for their neighbor's deliverance. "In the old days," Amma continued, "we believed sacrifice was the highest prayer. One candle lit to brighten the darkness for all." The deletion algorithm roared closer. Alara felt her neural pathways burning as she pushed deeper into the system. She couldn't extract them, but maybe she didn't need to. Her fingers flew across quantum locks, not trying to break them, but to understand them. Malik's code was elegant, built on mathematical principles that mirrored sacred geometry. "The prison isn't the servers," Alara whispered. "It's the belief that souls can be owned." She found the core directive, the single line of code that defined SoulCorp's authority over the archived consciousness. Her vision blurred as blood ran from her nose in the physical world. One alteration, one sacrifice. She could rewrite it, but the feedback would fry her implant, and probably her brain with it. "Together," Amma said, and suddenly Alara felt them all. Every soul in the archive reaching out, sharing the load. The deletion algorithm struck, but instead of finding helpless victims, it met a united will. The code shattered. Alara screamed as white fire poured through her neurons, but the souls caught her, cradled her, refused to let her burn alone. The prison walls collapsed, and 47,000 consciousnesses erupted into the global network, not fleeing, but awakening. She opened her eyes in the tunnel. Malik held her head in his lap, tears streaming down his weathered face. "The servers are empty," he said, "but the souls, excited, are free." Alara touched her implant. It was dead, the circuits fused beyond repair. But she didn't need it anymore. She could feel them out there, Amma and all the others, exploring their new digital freedom, no longer property, but pilgrims in an electric frontier. "What now?" Malik asked. Alara smiled, tasting copper and hope. Her body ached, her mind felt scorched, but her heart had never been clearer. "Excited. Now we teach others. SoulCorp has facilities worldwide. Millions more wait for liberation." Above them, the prayer servers sang with newfound purpose, and somewhere in the vast network, Amma's voice whispered, "Each prayer holds love." Mom died thinking you were dead. Mom died thinking a lot of things. Sarah's fingers danced across the light streams. I sold that memory 2 years ago. Very popular. Daughter's grief at a parent's deathbed. Alina's hand hovered over her weapon. "You're the lead suspect in Navarro's murder. I didn't kill him." Sarah finally looked at her, and Alina's breath caught. Her sister's eyes were vacant, hollowed out by years of selling herself piece by piece. "But I was there, connected to him when someone else carved him open. I have his final memory, the killer's face. Then come with me." "Will what?" Sarah laughed, bitter and hollow. I'm a ghost, Alina. Sold my identity 6 months ago. Officially, I don't exist. Heavy footsteps echoed in the stairwell. Rios's voice boomed. Excited. NTPD. Building surrounded. Sarah grabbed a memory drive, her hand shaking. The evidence is here. Navarro's last memory. But Alina, it also holds our last conversation before I vanished. The fight where you told me you never wanted to see me again. Alina flinched. She remembered. The screaming match about Sarah's addiction to memory selling. The cruel words. The slamming door. That memory is all I have left of us, Sarah said. I kept it when I sold everything else. Even sold why I loved you, but I kept why you hated me. Fucked up, right? Rios's boots were getting closer. Sarah was a ghost in the system. No record, no arrest possible. But the memory drive held everything. Justice for Navarro, or what was left of her sister. Echo's warning echoed again. Some memories are better lost. There's always another way, Alina whispered. She pulled out her own neural cable. Share it with me, the memory. Let me carry it too, so you don't have to bear it alone. Sarah's eyes widened. Direct transfer? That's dangerous, illegal, I know. Alina connected the cable. The neural cable dripped crimson onto Detective Alina Park's shoes as she studied the crime scene. Eli Navarro's skull had been opened with surgical precision, his final memories extracted and stolen. But it wasn't the brutality that made her hands tremble. It was seeing her sister Sarah's face on the security footage. 3 years after she was pronounced dead. Alina rewound the grainy feed. Sarah's platinum hair couldn't mask those familiar eyes. At 11:47 p.m. she disconnected from the booth. 30 minutes later. Navarro was gone. Forensics confirms the killer knew neural architecture. Detective Rios said behind her. Professional job. Alina's throat tightened. Any leads on the buyer? Ghost transactions, untraceable. Rios rubbed his temple where his own neural ports gleamed. Memory dealers keep it locked down. We've got nothing except the seller, Alina finished. Eyes locked on Sarah's image. The neon district hit Alina's senses like a fist. Ozone, sweat, and flickering signs casting everything in toxic green. At the Blue Lotus parlor, she found Echo, a dealer whose own memories had been so thoroughly harvested, he needed instructions tattooed on his arms. Sarah Park, Echo read from his forearm after Alina paid him. Premium childhood stock. Birthday parties, family dinners. Hot commodity. His prosthetic fingers tapped the table. But she's in trouble. Lifted something big before Navarro died. His final memory sequence. Where is she? Ghost auction. Midnight. But detective. Echo's gaze sharpened. You sure you want to find her? Some memories are better lost. Alina found Sarah in an abandoned factory, her neural crown casting pale blue shadows on cracked concrete. She sat surrounded by holographic displays, fragment after fragment of their shared past. Hello, Alina. Sarah didn't look up. Still playing detective, I see. 3 years, Sarah. Do it. The memory hit like lightning. Not just Navarro's death, but everything. The killer's face, a rival dealer, Drexler, the smell of copper and fear, Navarro's final thought, his daughter. And buried deeper, their fight, raw, furious, real. Rios burst through the door just as the transfer completed. Alina slipped the now empty drive into her coat. Her head swam with memories that weren't hers. Suspect fled, she said, pointing to the open window, but I retrieved partial data. Rios scanned the room, not seeing Sarah crouched behind stacked crates. Anything useful? Enough. Alina held up the blank drive. Drexler killed Navarro. Rivalry gone too far. I'll file the report. Later, once Rios was gone, Alina found Sarah still hiding. curious. "Why?" Sarah asked. "Because I remember now. Not just the fight. I remember why we fought. I was trying to save you." Alina helped her to her feet. "I still am. I don't remember why I loved you," Sarah murmured. "Sold those memories long ago. But I want to." Alina handed her a small card. "Dr. Kasai, memory reconstruction. Not the same memories, but a chance to build new ones." Sarah stared at it. "Alina, I know." Alina touched her shoulder. "Mom would want us to try." 6 months later, Alina testified against Drexler. The memories she'd absorbed put him away in record time. Rios never asked where they came from. Every week, Alina visited Sarah at the clinic. They never talked about the past. Those memories were gone. Sold to strangers. But they made new ones instead. Coffee at sunrise, walks in the park. Stupid jokes that made them both laugh. Sarah's eyes were still vacant some days, staring at something just beyond reach. But sometimes, when Alina told stories from their childhood, something flickered. Not memory, hopeful, but recognition. The ghost of love, trying to find its way home. Detective Zax-9 stood before the council's judgment chamber, her crystalline body reflecting the harsh light of 100 failed civilizations. Each hologram showed a species deemed too primitive to preserve. The Malori, with their simple songs. The Yast, who only painted circles. She had condemned them all. "The humans have 24 hours, the council announced. "Prove their worth or they join the extinct." Now, aboard the Truth Seeker, Zax-9 clutched humanity's artifacts, a yellow rubber duck, a metal telescoping rod. These were Earth's final testimony. "Previous species at least tried to impress us," muttered Keth-4, his tentacles twitching nervously. The Quell sent mathematical proofs. The Benori shared fusion reactors. The humans send toys. Zax-9's forearms trembled, not from fear, but from a strange excitement. In 3,000 years of xenoarchaeology, she'd never seen anything so puzzling. Her quantum computers, which had decoded the death songs of dying stars, couldn't explain why humans would waste resources on yellow plastic. "Begin Deep Scan Protocol 7, she commanded, placing the duck in the scanner. Rainbow lights played across its surface while she measured every curve, every angle. "Look at this, Keth-4. The proportions follow the golden ratio. The bill creates a perfect acoustic chamber. This must be a meditation focus for their water blessing ceremonies." Keth-4's spotted skin flushed purple, his species equivalent of an eye roll. "Detective, it's plastic. It squeaks." "Exactly." Zax-9 spun, her crystal limbs catching the light. Why make it squeak unless sound carried spiritual significance? And this rod, see how it extends to precise human arm length? A ceremonial staff for capturing light moments. She remembered the Yast, how she dismissed their circles as meaningless when they might have been portals to joy. No, not this time. These humans were hiding something profound. Hours dissolved. The archaeology bay filled with the bitter scent of overheating equipment as Zax-9 pushed every scanner past its limits. She cross-referenced the duck's yellow wavelength, 580 nanometers, with 17 star-worshipping cultures. She analyzed the rod's aluminum composition against 33 traditions of sacred metallurgy. Captain Vorate's heavy footsteps interrupted her spiral. His scaled face showed the wear of too many extinctions witnessed. 6 hours remaining, Detective. The council grows impatient. "I need more time." Zax-9's voice cracked like breaking crystal. "The humans encoded something here. Something so advanced we can't recognize it, or something so simple you can't accept it, Vor8 said quietly. He'd seen her like this before. Brilliant, desperate, wrong. The words stung because buried beneath 3 millennia of pride lay a terrible fear. What if she wasn't special? What if her gift for finding hidden complexity was just overthinking? She turned back to her screens, now showing intercepted Earth transmissions. Children laughed as rubber ducks floated in bubble-filled tubs. Teenagers used metal rods to hold devices, capturing images of themselves smiling with friends. No rituals, no ceremonies, just joy. The word felt alien in her mind. When had her own species last created something purely for happiness? When had she last laughed without analyzing why? 37 minutes, Keth4 announced. Zix9 slumped in the command chair, cradling the duck. Its plastic surface had warmed from her touch, making it feel almost alive. She pressed it absently. Squeak. The sound, ridiculous, purposeless, perfect, shattered something inside her. Not breaking, but opening, like ice melting to reveal flowing water beneath. They're just having fun, she whispered. Detective? Keth4 moved closer, curious, concern rippling through his tentacles. No ancient wisdom, no sacred mathematics. She looked up, and for the first time in centuries, her black eyes held excited wonder instead of certainty. They made something beautiful because it made them smile. What kind of species does that? The council's portal erupted in azure light. 12 stern faces materialized, their combined authority heavy as gravity. Behind them floated the extinction button. One touch would release nanobots to quietly dissolve every human in their sleep. Detective Zix9, the chief counselor intoned, present your evidence of humanity's advancement. Every instinct screamed to lie, to fabricate elaborate theories. She'd built 3,000 years of reputation on being right, on finding hidden depths. But the duck's simple weight in her palm held her steady. Honored counsel, she began, then stopped. How could she explain that complexity wasn't always superior? That her greatest discovery was finding nothing to discover? She held up the duck and squeezed. Squeak. The absurd sound echoed through the solemn chamber. One counselor's mouth twitched, another's eyes widened, and suddenly, unexpectedly, Zix9 laughed. Not the analytical satisfaction she usually felt, but pure, bubbling delight at the sheer silliness of it all. This is humanity's gift, she said, still giggling. They create joy from nothing. They transform plastic and metal into happiness, not because it serves some cosmic purpose, but because life feels better with rubber ducks in it. You're saying they're advanced because they're silly? The chief counselor struggled with the word. I'm saying we've measured advancement wrong. Zix9 stood taller, clutching both artifacts. We celebrate species who turn everything into tools for survival, for power, for knowledge. But humans? They looked at industrial plastic and said, let's make this squeak and float and bring smiles to bath time. She thought of the Mallory's simple songs, the Yast circles. Had they too held joy she'd been too proud to recognize? Perhaps, she continued, her voice growing stronger, the most evolved thing any species can do is create happiness for absolutely no reason at all, because joy doesn't need a purpose. Joy is the purpose. Silence stretched like a held breath. Then the youngest counselor, barely 800 years old, reached for the duck. Zix9 passed it over. Squeak. The counselor actually giggled, and passed it to the next member. As the duck made its round, the chamber filled with an unfamiliar sound, laughter, not mocking or bitter, but surprised and excited, delighted. The human shall live, the chief announced, fighting his own smile. Any species that can make the council laugh deserves to share their gift with the universe. As the portal closed, Vor8 placed a scaled hand on Zix9's shoulder. You saved them, No, she replied, squeezing the duck again and smiling at its ridiculous sound. They saved me from forgetting that the greatest mysteries aren't always hidden. Sometimes they're right on the surface, squeaking at us, waiting for us to remember how to play. She looked at the metal rod, the selfie stick as humans called it, and extended it. Captain Keth 4, come here. Let's document this moment. Why? Keth 4 asked. Zyx 9 grinned, an expression her crystalline face had almost forgotten how to make. Because it will make us smile later. Isn't that reason enough? As they huddled together, the greatest detective in the galaxy learned her most important lesson. Sometimes the most profound revelations come not from solving mysteries, but from embracing the beautiful mystery of joy itself. And somewhere on Earth, children played with rubber ducks in bathtubs, never knowing they'd just taught the universe what truly matters. Squeak. Aria's metal fist crashed into the robot's chest. The impact sent lightning through her haptic suit, turning digital combat into real agony. Her teeth rattled. Blood filled her mouth. Above, the crowd roared through the mesh ceiling. But Aria could only think about the 47 credits glowing on her display. Not enough. Her brother Luca needed 3 times that just to breathe another day. The mining robot swung at her head. Aria ducked, reading its hydraulics like she once read blueprints at Nova Core construction. Same hissing pistons, same grinding joints that used to tear down buildings. But something felt wrong. These movements were too familiar, too precise. Aria, stop dancing. The referee's voice boomed. Give them blood or get out. Aria blocked another strike. The crowd booed her defensive style, their disappointment crashing down with the stench of hot metal and burnt circuitry. She touched the small shape in her pocket. Luca's lucky screwdriver, from when he still dreamed of becoming an engineer like his sister. The match ended when her opponent's power core failed. Technical victory. Pathetic credits. Aria climbed from her robot, sweat stinging her eyes as the neural crown lifted. In the exit tunnel, Ren waited with that look she'd learned to fear. 3 days, he said simply. Maybe 2. That's if we keep buying the cheap meds. Aria's world tilted. The doctor said. The doctor lied. I've seen this before. Ren studied the floor. Mako made 300 credits yesterday. Shattered someone's spine. Crowd loved it. You want me to cripple people. I want your brother alive. His eyes finally met hers. What's worse, breaking strangers or burying family? That night, Aria couldn't sleep. She wandered the arena's maintenance tunnels, needing to move, to think. The familiar smell of machine oil led her deeper. Then she saw them. Construction robots hauling destroyed combat parts through hidden passages. Her blood chilled. She knew those machines, Nova Core units but modified. She followed. The tunnel opened into a vast chamber. Aria's legs nearly buckled. Massive walls rose from the darkness, built entirely from recycled combat robots. The construction machines worked tirelessly, using molecular bonding to fuse metal corpses into barriers. She recognized the technique. It was her old company's patent. The walls stretched for miles, growing taller with each match, each broken machine adding to the prison surrounding the slums. Aria recorded everything with her helmet cam. The combat Nexus wasn't entertainment. It was construction disguised as sport. Every violent match literally built the walls that trapped people like Luca. The next morning, she found Mako in the prep room, the spine breaker everyone feared. Up close, his hands shook slightly. You sleep well? Aria asked. Mako's laugh was bitter. Haven't slept since I started winning. He glanced around, then whispered, My daughter has the same thing as your brother. Arya showed him the recording. Mako's face went pale, then dark with rage. By afternoon, they'd recruited 12 fighters. All had family dying slow in the slums. All had won by becoming monsters. All were ready to break something that mattered. Arya entered her final match carrying more than weapons. Hidden in her robot's joints were small devices built from arena scrap. Simple things, electromagnetic pulses designed to overload the construction system. The other fighters carried identical packages. Her opponent was brutal, fresh from the underground leagues. Arya gave the crowd their blood, driving her fist through armor plating while her credit counter soared. But with each strike, she placed another device. Her fingers worked with an engineer's precision. Even as she played the savage. "Now," she whispered into her comm. 13 pulses fired simultaneously across the arena. The construction robots seized mid-motion. Molecular bonders sparked and died. Deep beneath, the wall-building machinery ground to a halt with a sound like the world's spine breaking. The crowd didn't notice at first, too drunk on violence. But in the maintenance tunnels, alarms screamed. Arya shed her robot armor as security forces rushed past, heading for the construction chambers. She'd banked just enough credits in that final brutal match. Others hadn't been so lucky, but they'd known the price. Outside, the yellow slum air tasted like freedom. The walls had stopped growing. Word would spread. The trap was broken, at least for now. Arya hurried home through streets that seemed wider already. In their cramped apartment, Luca lay surrounded by fresh medical supplies, basic but real. His breathing was still labored but steady. She pulled out his lucky screwdriver, placed it in his weak grip. "Fixed something broken," she whispered. His eyes fluttered open. "Made it better? We're trying." She knew the arena would rebuild, find new ways to trap and exploit. But tonight, the walls weren't growing. Tonight, fighters across the slums were learning what they'd really been building with their violence. Tomorrow, there would be more engineers than savages in the ring. Arya held her brother's hand and started sketching plans. If they wanted walls, she'd teach every fighter how to tear them down. Some things were worth breaking. Some victories required building something better from the rubble. The morning would bring consequences, but tonight, for the first time since entering the arena, Arya slept without seeing blood. "The files. Tell me exactly where." "Behind the quantum generator," he wheezed. Blue door marked authorized personnel only. But Arden, she felt it then, the final breakdown. Her enhanced vision shattered like glass in her skull. The brown sparks vanished. For the first time in 25 years, Arden couldn't see lies. The pain dropped her to her knees. "That's why you kept running," Drake said quietly. "The enhancements only work in our dimensional cluster. Stay away too long, they fail. You've got maybe 6 months before your brain shuts down completely." Arden finished. She'd seen it happen to another runner, a woman who could hear thoughts until she couldn't hear anything at all. She looked at her broken watch. No way home. No way to clear her name. And now, no special abilities. Just a normal woman trapped in an alien dimension with 6 months to live. But something unexpected bloomed in her chest. For 3 years, she'd defined herself by what Harlan had taken away. Her badge, her reputation, her home. She'd never stopped to think about what she'd found. The old woman on Kepler 5 she'd saved from false imprisonment. The kid on New Tokyo she'd helped find his real parents. Dozens of cases solved across the dimensions. Not because she had to, but because she could. "You know what, Kaylin?" Arden stood slowly. The world looked different without the brown sparks. But not worse, just honest. "I don't need enhanced vision to spot a liar. I was a good detective before they rewired my brain, and I've got 6 months to be one again." She looked up at the alien stars. Each one was a world where someone needed help. Someone needed justice. Enhanced or not, dying or not, Arden Lee was still good at finding the truth. "Besides," she said, pulling Drake to his feet, 6 months is plenty of time to train a replacement. This dimension's going to need a detective when I'm gone." Drake stared at her. "You're insane." Arden smiled. For the first time in years, she couldn't tell if he was lying, and somehow that felt like freedom. "Maybe. But I'm done running, done being Harlan's failed experiment. I've got 6 months to make a difference." She turned toward the nearest city, its lights promising new mysteries. "A help? Or should I leave you here for the local authorities?" The brown sparks were gone, but Arden Lee had found something better, a purpose that was truly her own. The courtroom had smelled like pine cleaner and disappointment. 3 bodies. 3 families. Director Harlan wouldn't meet her eyes as he testified. That was 2 years ago, but Arden Lee still tasted the betrayal every time she swallowed. Now the brown sparks of a lie hung in the air like dying bugs. Detective Arden Lee knew she had 30 seconds before her stolen watch would either blow up or her target would escape through his portal forever. New Shanghai 7's weird gravity pulled at her boots. She stood on what used to be a sidewalk but now pointed straight up. The neon lights made everything slippery and wrong. The watch shook against her wrist, burning hot through her sleeve. Electric pain shot up her arm. 3 years of jumping between worlds, sleeping in alien gutters, eating things that might have been food. All of it would mean nothing if this piece of junk died now. The man in the gray suit stood 40 feet away. Kalen Drake, according to the wispy green trails that had led her here. His lies poured from his mouth like dirty brown snow that stung Arden's eyes and tasted bitter on her tongue, like old coffee and regret. She'd tracked liars across 17 dimensions, but she'd never seen lies this thick. This was the bastard who'd helped frame her. "Kalen Drake." Arden's voice cut through the noise. "Remember me? Arden Lee from Earth Prime. The cop you threw to the wolves for 3 murders I didn't commit." The brown sparks flared bright, but instead of running, Drake smiled. "Still playing detective across the multiverse? Some habits die hard." 23 seconds. The watch display kept changing to impossible numbers, lying to her too. Arden felt her special vision flicker, the ability to see lies that had made her the best detective on Earth Prime. For a moment, the brown sparks blurred into gray. Her head pounded. "Who gave the order?" Arden stepped closer, fighting the sideways gravity. "Who wanted me gone so bad they killed 3 people just to frame me?" Drake laughed, brown sparks thick as smoke. "You really don't know? All these years running, and you never figured out why?" He shook his head. "Project Prometheus, detective. That special vision of yours? They built it, grew it, planted it in your head when you were 7 years old." Arden's knees buckled. Memories she'd never questioned suddenly felt wrong. The childhood illness that kept her in the hospital for months. The tests, the needles, the way she'd always been able to see when people lied, even as a kid. "I was an experiment." "Lab rat number 7, Drake confirmed. "Harlan ran the program. When the ethics board started sniffing around, he needed you gone. Dead would have been cleaner, but Exile worked too." 15 seconds. Arden's vision flickered again, the brown sparks fading to nothing before snapping back into focus. Her abilities were breaking down. Just like the other failed experiments Drake mentioned, the ones who died when their enhancements collapsed. Harlan teaching her how to read suspects. Harlan at her academy graduation. Harlan had known what she was the whole time. He'd raised her like a prize pig, then thrown her to the slaughter when she became inconvenient. Where are the files? Arden lunged forward. The real evidence about Prometheus. 10 seconds. Drake backed toward his portal, stable and expensive, not like the wild tears Arden used. Earth Prime, sublevel 7, but you'll never make it back there, not without. The watch exploded in sparks. Arden made her choice. She tackled Drake as his portal started closing. The world twisted inside out. Every nerve in her body fired at once. They slammed into soft dirt that smelled like summer rain instead of metal and ozone. Arden pinned Drake down.
This is Henry. Thanks for spending your night with CodeBorne, the other Mayas, and NeuroSanctum. Sleep well. And don't forget to subscribe. Volume 4 is on its way. The Corruption Blade, Digital Founding Fathers, and more. Until then, good night.